What is going on, YouTube? Pass the prop back here for another round of our Monday Night Football plays. Obviously, we got the San Francisco 49ers facing off against the Minnesota Vikings in Minneapolis tonight. Joined, as always, by my guy, Sue. What's good, man?
Yeah, I'm a little slow getting these links out today. I apologize for that. Normally on top of tweeting this out ASAP, but a little behind right now. But hey, I'm super excited for this week of action. Obviously, we just got done. I don't know about you. I ended like right around even, which means for me this will be a make or break kind of day for my week. Right when you look back in a couple years, we will remember how it was on Sunday. You'll just be looking at that final record, and I'm pumped. I love the 49ers. I talk about the 49ers a lot over these last couple seasons. And obviously, the Minnesota Vikings may not be one of the best teams in the league, but they are one of the most fun teams in the league for betting purposes. So, should have a pretty good show today. Excited to get out these angles. I think we got some great plays.
Yeah, no, and we deserve some. We deserve some love after this freaking weekend, man. Damn, bro. Some shitty beats, man. I don't know if I've ever been that frustrated in my life on a couple of these bets. I'll recap those right away with first 2 minutes. We got 15 of you guys in here. Appreciate you. Bijan Robinson, bro. Like, that was my play, bro. I loved him this week. Had him even in a small DFS lineup. Obviously, have him invested in best ball, have him in fantasy, and they don't tell you anything. Like, how do you not say anything? I think don't you get fined if you tell your coach and your coach doesn't say anything? I'm pretty sure they should be getting a fat fine, or else the NFL is just falling apart, bro. At least, like, even NBA, bro, they'll tell you, even if it's like 3 minutes until. At least they tell you, right?
Yeah.
These guys just didn't say a word.
And degenerates like us, we only need 3 minutes sometimes, right? I would have gotten him out. I shared on Twitter, would have had Gus Edwards in my lineup. I could have won a freaking, championship this week. Now I might be out of the playoffs. So Bijan hurt a lot of people. And it's one of those, it's kind of the worst thing where you always want like there's nothing to even really point your anger at. Like they just didn't play him because he has a headache. Like we can't do anything about that. You know what I mean? It's brutal. You get fucked every once in a while, and I mean that's just what it is. We got fucked this week. It's not Vegas conspiracy or anything like that. We just got fucked, and it happens sometimes, unfortunately.
Well, the tough one for me is they played him at the end of the game. Like, they threw him in
Yeah,
there for one play, like, just to
yeah,
ruin everything, right? Because a lot of places won't even. Some of them, if he doesn't have like a touch or he doesn't have any snaps, I think he played one snap and came off, and then he went in the fourth quarter after not playing the whole game. Like, I don't understand here, what the thought process is there. If he's hurt, why would you put him in? Why would he not be in street clothes?
yeah. The most common thing I'm hearing is my best guess is some kind of and I don't want to say conspiracy, but like there's some kind of discipline thing behind closed doors, and they didn't want to admit it to the public. But suddenly, when the game is on the line, then you have a little discretion. Get the fuck in there, Bijan. But yeah, I agree. It was very weird. I don't know if it was, is Arthur Smith like one of these discipline guys? Do you think he showed up late to a bunch of meetings? I don't know. I agree. There should be a fine no matter what. Like even beyond just being mad at your bets or whatever. Like just for the purposes of the integrity of the league, right? This seems like a pretty clear injury manipulation report, right? Which doesn't affect bettors. It affects the other coaches, right? And the coaching staff. That's a bigger deal to them. So I guess we'll just see what the league office does.
Yeah, no, it was frustrating. I don't even know if I'm more frustrated about that one or this one. Geno Smith, 200 yards in the first half. And I think they threw the ball 6 times in the second half. Just ran Kenneth Walker in the ground, didn't score, didn't do anything. Just ran him into the back of people. And I'm like, dude, is this Kenneth Walker or A.J. Dillon, bro? Because A.J. Dillon actually looked a little bit explosive this weekend. Kenneth Walker did not look explosive against probably one of the worst run defenses I've seen. Big old bust for a lot of people thinking he's going to have a big week this week.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, boy, this was a tough week. This was probably one of the uglier ones. I mean, I had Gino on my fantasy team as well, as
Me
a
too.
spot start. And it's just one of those where you're watching it and you're thinking the first half was great, right? And it looks like they came out in the second half and we're like, we already won that game. Like we don't need to do anything. And that's exactly what it was. They kicked one field goal in the second half, but it was nothing. There's just no offensive game plan. As you mentioned, DK sat out. So JSN actually did have his first, fantasy relevant week of the year, but just brutal stuff. I mean, they just clearly, like, I don't want to say gave up because they won the game. They parked the bus. They were, these guys suck. We don't have to do anything for the rest of the game. And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, no, it was. And then Amon-Ra obviously would put up almost another fucking huge performance from him. Just looked phenomenal. 19 targets, 35 over the last 2 weeks, dude. What a performance there, especially with uh, David Montgomery out, and Gibbs showed out a little bit there as well. But really, like, did you see they were running him when they were down 36 to 6 or whatever it was in the last drive? I'm like, why are you running this guy right now? This does not make any sense.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I had Roquan Smith tackles assist in that game, which unfortunately failed. Probably my favorite bet of the week too. And like that one drive that you're talking about is the only like real drive they had all game. And Roquan had 6 tackles and assist alone on that draft or on that drive right there. So that one had me so pissed off because I'm thinking if we just had one non-blowout drive, because that one you mentioned, they just checked it down to Laporta, checked it down to Laporta, checked it down to Amon-Ra, and then a couple random runs at the end. But that was like the only semblance of a real drive they had all game. Besides that, they got destroyed.
Yeah, I know a lot of people. A lot of people were very high on the Lions, and obviously they just got absolutely mauled this week. Shout out Lamar Jackson, good performance from him. Hopefully, you didn't play him in fantasy this week because man, that was a hell of a performance. We'll get to your winner there at the end of the night. What a win on fucking Niels, bro.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's obviously the beauty of kind of playing the rush attempts over the yard, just like we were saying. Obviously, not only I mean, it didn't end up mattering, but how about the tush push on your own 20-yard line in that game? That's exactly the kind of analysis we were talking about in that one. Of these aggressive games, you're going to go for it like that. So that obviously helped. And then, yeah, the kneel downs pushed us over the top at the end. You always get worried, like, is Miami going to throw themselves out of the game, but hold on at the end so Hurts won't be able to kneel down? Like, that's a new sweat. I don't think I've experienced hoping a quarterback comes in so they can kneel down as a sweat before. But yeah, we cashed the ticket right here. It was definitely good to see.
Yeah, shout out Hurts. Eckler had the first catch of the game. Did he get the rest, or I didn't. I watched a little bit. I couldn't. I mean, I can't watch daily games anymore, bro. They're incompetence. I can't watch.
Yeah, I mean, someone in the chat might have to help me. I was at a buddy's place. He was injured for like 30 minutes, right? Because he was not out there in like the second quarter, and then he came back out there in the third, I believe. But yeah, there was no catches after the first quarter. I'm pretty sure he started with one and ended with one. So I don't really know what to say about it. I need to watch the game again. But Kelly was out there running routes. There were no checkdowns. The offense just looked bad, man. I don't know what to say about this yet. Like I said, I need to rewatch the game first, but it just seemed like we weren't even close, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, and he got hurt for 2 drives. He sat out for 2 drives. Kelly obviously broke one there as well. But yeah, just a dude. I don't know how nobody's like talking shit on Herbert. Like everybody just like gives him a pass on all this shit because he's like talented, bro. Like him and Staley should not be this bad. Staley's play calling is probably one of the worst I've ever seen in there. And obviously, Kellen Moore running the ball 3 times in a row after the Chiefs just Chiefs have put on a 12 play drive, just cook you down the field, throwing it to the same person every single time. And then they get the ball back, run the ball 3 times up the middle. Don't get a first, give it back to them, and then they go right down again. And then you're done. You're not going to come back on 14 on the Chiefs there. Like, there's no way that happens in Kansas City. It's just like, you're just asking for it. Like you didn't even try. And then like at the end of the game, you start running those deeper crossing routes. You run those routes that they're good at. And wow, you move the ball. Josh Palmer ends up with 130. Herbert missed 2 touchdown passes. One of them was wide open to Keenan Allen. He missed him, missed guys in the end. It was a really bad performance from the Chargers. Sorry if you had the over. Because my God, that was disgusting. What was it, 37 points in the first half, and then that. So kind of gross.
And I mean, I can just try because you said it about Herbert, and then Mike agreed with you in the chat, obviously, about Herbert always getting a pass. I mean, just as someone that is more on that side of the boat, all I can tell you is I'm kind of lost now because I want to give him the pass for a pretty simple reason. He's one of the 3 most talented quarterbacks in the NFL, and that's obviously an incredibly rare thing to be even close to the category that Patrick Mahomes is. The problem is, like you said, at a certain point, we have to stop giving these excuses when the results aren't there. And I think we can definitively say that now in back-to-back weeks, Justin Herbert is the main responsible party for the team's loss, which isn't something I think I've really had to say his whole career. I mean, Anthony Lynn, terrible start back then, and then we moved over to Staley, another rough coaching situation. Sure, they can shoulder some of the blame, but this is now back-to-back games where I think Herbert should be the sole, beneficiary of all the blowback, right? And that's a new spot for me as a Herbert fan, right? I haven't been there before. I haven't, seen him kind of throw away these games so much on him rather than everything else. So it's a tough spot to be in. I'm obviously going to still, continue to support Herbert as an extremely talented quarterback, but it's time to stop letting that interfere with our perspective on betting, because if he's not winning these games, right, if we keep having these costly turnovers, if we're missing guys deep more than we ever have before, then we have to adjust to that, obviously, very soon.
Yeah, no, it's just tough to watch. And I guess we can get to our week 7 takeaways. Week 7 takeaways here for this whole entire week 7. Obviously, there's a lot of teams on bye. Was there anything that caught your attention or something that you couldn't go this week without being like, oh, that's something I want to talk about?
I mean, I think number one that's popping in my head is the Steelers right now. I mean, these guys, they look ugly. They started ugly, and now they're a winning team that's looking like they're going to be a playoff team by the end of the season. And it's Mike Tomlin, man. He's a great coach. I mean, just sitting there watching these games, it always has me thinking like, man, I wish I had that, because at the end of the day, there's one thing you can always give Mike Tomlin credit for. He has his guys ready to go to war. They're always prepared. They're never lazy. And it shows week in and week out. That's not a common, trait to have in the modern day NFL right now. So I just couldn't go without mentioning they got another win this week. Pickett is actually looking better and better. I'm still not a believer necessarily in him as a quarterback. I still see him as more of a bridge quarterback. But at the end of the day, I couldn't go without mentioning the Steelers, who actually looked very good so far.
Yeah, well, first we'll talk about both of our teams just absolutely shitting the bed this week. I again will continue to bash LaFleur till I'm blue in the face. Dude, we can't just keep going down 20 points in the first half, right? They're just letting. I'm like, dude, it's every game. Like, I'm gonna bet the other team's first half money line every game. It's just not even worth. It's just free money at this point. They're just giving it to them. So there's that on my first point. But yeah, just the play calls on the Packers was ridiculous. My actual one would probably be that Patriots Bills game, man. Like, really, 7 points. I mean,
it's bad.
7.5 point favorite on the road. First off, I don't know if anybody really should be in Foxborough. Like, that's just a tough place to play. But man, dude, like, again, they just shit the bed in these games. I don't understand it. I had Josh Allen in fantasy this week. He did well. He did fine. Like, obviously, when you look at that, you're happy. He gets you a rushing touchdown, 265, 2 tutties. But Dalton Kincaid, number 1 receiver this week. Kind of scary, dude. They completely shut down Gabe Davis over the top, which we talked about. I think me and you talked about that, saying his number was at 18.5. I'm like, I don't bet it against the Patriots. That's like the one team I'll never bet against. And this would be a week that you could try it, but I just never do longest reception on that guy in that game. But I like to see James Cook kind of showing out, right? James Cook showed out in that game in a tough matchup, but Diggs, 12 targets, only 58 yards. I'm sure a lot of people had Bills in their parlays, right? There's a lot, dude. So much chalk gets killed. The Bears, I saw no one was betting on the Bears. Everybody's betting on Vegas. They lose. But I don't know. I mean, even I don't know if yours won. Yours didn't. I don't think they won.
My dog won. Are we going dogs? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, yours had Falcons at 3, right?
Yeah.
Well, did they? Oh, they did win. They win.
Won outright.
Mine did too. Or mine got covered. Mine covered too. So
I was gonna say,
dogs are eating this week.
Yeah, the Falcons. Oh man, I love being right. Oh, I love being right, because that one, I hate the trends community. I really do. When you're on my side, you can give me whatever trends. I'll just say, okay, nice. But when you try to tell me that Desmond Ridder isn't going to win this game because he doesn't win on the road, and then last week you were going to tell me they were going to win just because he's at home. Like, one, this isn't something the bookmakers obviously take into account. And two, like, Desmond Ridder is a good quarterback that has this huge effect on the spread. When Desmond Ridder's at home and he's locked in, that changes everything. Come on. Come on, we got to stop reading these dumbass stats that we parrot on the internet because people put it out for good social content. I mean, like, I don't know. I was getting a lot of blowback for that call this week, and I found it crazy. I thought the Falcons were clearly, it should be even money right there. So to get that for 3, very happy about that one right there.
Yeah, and I know I talked to you about my boy, Mr. Michael Pittman, coming through, helping me keep that up there. 75-yard touchdown. Minshew, who would have guessed he'd be a top 3 fantasy scorer this week, bro? Continues to just do his thing. Obviously, we had him at +3, so that comes through. But I thought the Colts were going to come back and win. But, man, dude, Minshew just a turnover machine. But, I mean, hey, if you can make it turn into Jameis Winston, you're going to become fantasy viable, man. He just turns the ball over in his own area. They go score, and you get the ball back. Dude puts up some big-time numbers. And mouths are getting fed right now in that offense. Jonathan Taylor eating. You got Josh Downs who's eating. You got Michael Pittman who's eating. Like that. I mean, they're a lot better fantasy players than I think people are giving them credit for here. And Minshew's doing his thing, but obviously not winning. But hey, we don't care about that when we play fantasy.
Yeah, that's talk about a game I need to rewatch. I got bits and pieces of that one on Red Zone and everything. But a 30-point each game with look at the offensive stats in that one. I mean, look at PJ Walker had like 110 passing yards and his team scored almost 30 or 40 points. Like absolute insane game. Pittman ended up coming through on that huge play. Yeah, it was an interesting one. Obviously, I normally bet Pittman on like receptions, so obviously he did not clear that one. He had the huge play right there. It was just a weird game. I mean, talk about like one of the biggest outliers we've seen in a while. What wasn't the total in that one 37.5?
40.5.
Oh, yeah. So there you go. Almost one team going over by themselves in that one. Very interesting matchup. And yeah, I mean, shout out to the dog for covering for you, though. Nice little 2-0.
Yeah. Lastly, I want to talk about that Browns defense a little bit, man. They're top, right? They're one of the top defenses in the league. 36 carries split between Taylor and Moss directly down the middle. Taylor, 75 and a touchdown. Moss, 57 yards. And Minshew, 15 for 23 with 305. Like, only 23 pass attempts, and that boy cleared 300 on you. Obviously, the big plays really skewed stuff, but, man, dude, for a defense that, is looking as a top 5 defense, getting shredded by a backup quarterback and Zach Moss, Jonathan Taylor, like, they're getting it ran down their throat most of that game. Like, it wasn't something I was expecting, and obviously bookmakers weren't either.
Yeah, that's the surprise story right there. I mean, for me, I'm still gonna until I see something that changes my mind, I'm not gonna overreact too much. Like I said, I only got to see bits and pieces. For me, it looked like the Browns defense played a majority good game and had a couple huge slip-ups that obviously cost them. And yeah, that's football. That's how things go. But from everything I've seen so far this season, it's hard for me to downgrade them too much. I know it obviously looks very rough on paper, but to me, I just see kind of a disgusting game. I would have a lot of confidence in the Browns still going forward, too, especially against quarterbacks that struggle against man coverage. And we talked about it briefly before the show. Surprisingly, Gardner Minshew has, throughout his whole career, had really good numbers against man coverage. I was not going to bet on it. I was not going to put that to the test because, as you know, not every defense that plays heavy man is going to be as good as the Browns. But there were a couple trending signs to show that the Colts offense could show some life against that scheme. Obviously not to the extent they did, but I'm not going to overreact too much. I still got faith in the Browns. I still rate them out as a top 5 defense this year.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Let's take a little bit of a left turn. We'll go right into today's plays. Obviously, only one game on the slate today. I know we were blessed for a couple weeks with 2, but we only got 1 today. Obviously, the Niners are heading into Minnesota. That's a big deal, right? I mean, it's Kirk Cousins is significantly better at home. I don't know if it matters too much, but we got 7-point spread now. It's moving down towards the Vikings, actually. It was 7.5 here. Now it's down to 7 on DraftKings, a little bit juiced to the Viking side, actually. 43.5 total. Stu, 4 sides like we always do on these showdown slates. Which one are you going to?
Yeah, that's a tough one here. I'm going to say Is the over popular? If it's popular, I don't want to be on the over, but I think that's my first thought, to be
Yep.
honest.
I was looking at the over as well. I want to. I'll check on. I'll go over to action real quick and see what the line movement has been on the over
Yeah,
here.
because that to me, when I hear a line that is kind of the more obvious choice, that always worries me. Like, why hasn't this line moved more than I would expect it to, or
All
than
right,
what?
opened 44,
Mhm.
went down to 43 and a half, went down to 43, and now is back up at 43 and a half. That has been started since this morning.
Do you think the
Oh,
CMC news plays into that with him being ruled in just a couple hours ago?
I would guess. I would probably guess that probably has a little bit to do with it, but I mean, I don't know, man. This is just a sketchy line, bro. 7
Yeah.
points. Vikings at home. I think I would lean with the Vikings if I can get that 7.5 again. Kirk Cousins is the king of the backdoor cover, bro. Like, he's the king of garbage yards. Like, this dude is a wizard when it comes to I'm down by 14 points. Start of the fourth quarter. It doesn't look like we have a hope of covering this, but they find a way. They just find a way to get within a score. Obviously, all those one-score games last year, they play everybody close, and I think that this is gonna be it's gonna be rowdy there, man. I've been up to U.S. Bank a few times. We actually played baseball up in U.S. Bank, dude. It's loud, bro. Like, it is loud. So maybe we see a little bit of Purdy coming back down to earth a little bit.
Yeah, I think that would be more likely without Christian McCaffrey, your safety blanket, taking it away. I think now that he is ruled in, I think it's a little harder for me to expect. That being said, you kind of mentioned it. I mean, Vikings king of the back door. For me, that just makes me go to the over, though. Why trust them when in reality, then the 49ers could answer back with a pick six, with a long touchdown? I just think the over makes more sense if we expect Minnesota to show some life in this game. And to me, I think San Francisco, the real spot is next week, baby, against the Bengals. That's where you're going to want to buy. I already talked about that a little last night, but I think I would like it if the Vikings covered this one, so I could get an even better number next week against the Bengals for the Niners. But still, probably the best regular season team in the league so far, the Niners. Maybe even just the best team overall. I don't want to disrespect any Niners fans out there. You guys are already in my DMs after I called the Bills better in like week 2, so they remember. These guys don't forget. I think the Niners take care of business. I like the over, though. Hopefully, it's not super popular. That would be a little scary.
I don't know if it's super popular, but yeah, I mean, it's tough after a game like that with the Browns where it's just all gritty and shit like that, where it's all grimy. And now you play a game where this is going to be open, man. Like, the Vikings are going to play open. Their defense is terrible. They're going to be wide open there. So let's get into our plays. Obviously, this show is usually a little bit shorter, obviously, with one game. So let's get right on into it. We'll kick it over to you to start us off. Let's get some winners.
Yep, I've been waiting to talk about this one since day one. This honestly could have been my pass the prop Friday play. I wanted to play Ayuk all week long, and I knew this was going to be the way I targeted him because I knew the receiving yards was obviously going to take a huge bump. And to be honest, I wish it didn't. Like I mean, I wish like Debo was in. I wish we were under regular circumstances because this number is a little inflated, unfortunately. The good news, 24 and a half right now on FanDuel Sportsbook. I just checked. It is still there. It's 26 and a half on DraftKings. You rarely see a 2-yard shift in the markets. Obviously in the longest reception ever. That's completely uncommon. You normally maybe see 1 yard between books, but seeing obviously a 2-yard thing that can save you when this longest reception. Obviously, you're looking for these plays over the middle. It's a huge deal to line shop. So make sure you're over on FanDuel. I think this is a bad number. I think it should be at 26 where it is on DraftKings. And the reason I like Ayuk is obviously we talked about explosive plays all season long. Minnesota's actually been surprisingly solid against the run. I don't know if that'll hold up against one of the best rush attacks in football here. I doubt it will. But with Christian McCaffrey not at full strength, with Elijah Mitchell coming in off the bench with some injury stuff, I could see them leaning on the pass more than they normally do. The reason I'm going here instead of yards, though, kind of like I hinted at, is this did not get the bump that I think it should have with obviously Debo Samuel missing. We saw the yards go from 56, 60, all the way up to now 74. It's now at 76 in some spots. So the line movement has been there with the receiving yards, but I don't think the longest reception has caught up. And when we look at guys that have played this team already, Every single team has had a wide receiver go over this number against them, except the Carolina Panthers, a team we've talked about a lot this season, being the complete check down over the middle kind of guy. So I'm not mad about that. I would not have expected the Panthers to miss. Every other team had a wide receiver go over, and then every other team except one had two separate wide receivers go over this number. That kind of tells you all you need to know about this Minnesota secondary. It is obviously not good. I already touched on the fact that if their mid-tier rush defense is the best part of this unit, then that's probably not good news for the passing game right here. And we've seen Ayuk have some mixed success for this on the season so far. It's not like this is one of those plays that we're counting on the 100% hit rate or anything like that. It's pretty simple. I want to take advantage of one of the worst secondaries in football, right? This is number 6th most fantasy points to wide receivers and second most receiving yards on the season. I think wide receiver ones are going to continue to cook them. And when you look at this team, let's be honest, who else is going to be the guy that steps up? Because there's not too many options. I mean, Ronnie Bell, if you remember, was the guy that stepped up a little earlier in the season. Would not be a surprise to see him. But you got to remember, the guy barely played any snaps. He was just super efficient on the snaps he was in. Juwan Jennings, I love him. If you're a Niners fan, you love him. He's a blocker. He'll get a couple clutch first downs and he'll get a couple clutch third or fourth downs. But if you look at his stats, kind of similar to Josh Reynolds on the Tigers, it's been pretty publicized. He's really only involved in those kind of third down, those end zone kind of plays. Jennings is never going to be the guy that steps up and is, getting 80, 70 receiving yards a game. So there's plenty of opportunity here, especially with how boomer bust Kittle has been. The beautiful thing I like about it is if Kittle does have one of those Kittle games, right? 100 yards, he's balling out. That safety attention is going to be forced to look at him. And we only need one play right here. I'm not asking Ayuk to dominate, right? We could get this on a 1 for 26. And obviously, I'm not the biggest PFF guy in the world, but he is the number 2 rated PFF wide receiver in all of football. I'm not just talking about any limited samples or anything like that. They have him as the number 2 wide receiver in football. And a lot of the advanced analytics agree when you look at yards per route run, when you look at targets per route run, these efficiency stats that measure how good a wide receiver is at gaining targets. Ayuk is in the elite category of every single one. I honestly think Ayuk is one of the most underrated wide receivers in football. When all that CeeDee Lamb news was going on a couple weeks, I actually said I would rather have Brandon Ayuk on my team than CeeDee Lamb. I think a lot of people don't look at Ayuk the way they should. I still think they see him as the wide receiver 2 on this team when he hasn't been the wide receiver 2 on this team all season long, right? Deebo Samuel has not been that. So I love Ayuk in this spot. I think he continues to kill it. And this line on FanDuel is just off by a couple yards. You're muted right now.
I have him in fantasy in my 14-team league, so I was like, I got him late too, so I'm happy with that. He's obviously been really, really good. So I wish I just had more exposure to him in best ball. I faded Deebo completely, but Brandon Ayuk, he was always tough to get. Like I feel like there was a lot of people that were high on him coming into this year, well warranted. But I wish I had a little bit more exposure to him in those. And I know I got one here that I know. I got that face from you when I told you before the show. So usually that's a good thing. Usually
it really is.
When I get that face, I'm like, yeah, that's good. That's good. That means we got that little tingle. We're ready to go. So 45 of you guys in here, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you do that before we get into this last one here. But we'll get to all your questions and stuff after. I'm going with Hockenson over 5.5 catches, and I understand everybody's going to say, fantastic defense, fantastic linebackers. Yes, I understand that, and that's not my reasoning here at all, right? I know that that's the case, right? But you look through this whole season, man, the tight ends are getting peppered with targets because the outside is impossible to get to. You can't run routes down the field on these guys. They're on you so fast that you have to find a way to get the ball out of your hand quickly. And guess what? I'm not trusting KJ Osborne. I'm not trusting Jordan Addison yet. I don't think this is a great spot for him either. And then Brandon Powell, right? Those are your wide receivers that participated last week. And you look at these spots. Jordan Addison last week against a Bears team, 22.3 air yards per reception, 10 for KJ Osborne. Brandon Powell, the only one in single digits there. But all of them, 16, 13% target share, right? 27% to TJ Hockenson. He had a brutal drop as well. Obviously, I had a pretty big bet on him on the show last week. Specifically, on Hawkinson. So I was watching that one way too closely, and that drop was brutal. It was a 3-yard out. Like that's what he's doing, and that's what I love from this guy. But you look at him so far, he's pretty much their number one option, 27% target share last week. And what I do want to talk about is these other tight ends, right? What they've been doing. And Darren Waller hasn't been a factor at all outside of last week, right? He had 7 targets against these dudes and 32 pass attempts from Daniel Jones. That is not that much. Obviously, a huge target share. You look at Zach Ertz. He's the one I talked about as the guy that I'm thinking is the closest to what Hawkinson is, right? Obviously, Hawkinson's significantly better. 11 targets, 6 catches for 53 yards. That is the line I'm expecting. Something like that. 6 for 50, 7 for 55, right? Those are the spots that I'm expecting to see from Hawkinson here. And if Zach Ertz probably has damn near the same route tree as Hawkinson, those little blocks, run off for that 3-yard out, that's the underneath stuff. Because if you're going to watch Addison, he's running down the field. You're going to want KJ Osborne moving down the field a little bit as well. If I'm getting the 6-yard outs, that's the security. I'm not thinking that we're going to see much from Alexander Madison today. I know we talked about that a little bit there. I don't see him having much success today. I don't think Cam Akers is the answer. I know Stu does not think Cam Akers is the answer. I don't even need to hear his rebuttal because I know he hates him and I know he understands that. But you go up down these spots, even Tyler Higbee, 7 targets, right? He hasn't done anything this year. And obviously that's a Sans Cooper Cup, but there's a lot of targets heading to the tight end. A lot of these spots, especially the Cardinals, like I said, they do not have an alpha number one. And I don't care what people say about Hollywood, they don't. So that's where you don't have a guy one-on-one who can win every time. You're going to be looking for those underneath. I don't want to get behind the sticks. If they try to go 20 yards down the field, bro, this is going to be – Kirk Cousins is going to be out of this game in the second quarter, getting his ribs snapped from these guys. So Hawkins is the underneath. I'm expecting a lot of targets there. I'm expecting double-digit targets here. And I think his catch rate, he's at 36 receptions and 47 attempts towards him in targets. So I really like Hawkinson today. And I understand it's not a great matchup, but somebody's got to do it. And I think it's going to be Hawkinson. Did I lose you, Stu?
I think
I lost. Did I lose you? I now can. My stuff's good on my end, so I don't know what's happening with you.
Still here? Oh, frozen. Okay, I think we're good.
All right, I can. Mine's moving fine. I don't know what's happening on your end.
Okay. Okay. Well, I know. Again, it's unfortunate. Can you hear me?
Let's try. I'm gonna try it now. Maybe I don't know what is happening though. I think it's you, bro. It ain't me. I was gonna say it was not me on my end. I don't think it's me. Hopefully Stu can pop back in here, bro. But yeah, that face was interesting. I think he always thinks it's me, but it's not. It's not today, guys. I'm the guy rolling today. So shout out my computer for coming through here. Definitely was not on my end. So hey, that's a positive, right?
Are we good?
Yeah, dude. It was not me. It was you, bro.
Well, I mean, clearly, I even see him getting flamed in the chat. I don't even know what's going on. So,
dude, it was again. Every time your face freezes, it's always in these interesting spots, and it's like, even right now, you're kind of half frozen sometimes, and your face is stuck in like these. You always look surprised. Like I'm like, I don't think I said anything, so I'm like, why you look so surprised?
Yeah, I don't know where these internet problems are coming from, but I was trying to back up your play. I can't even do that right now. I was trying to compliment you and say that honestly, at first I was kind of a little nervous when you said this one out loud, but I think the argument you made was really good right there. At the end of the day, this 49ers team is top 5 in receptions allowed, right? And you normally attribute that to a position, right? But at the end of the day, the guy with 27% target share is going to be the one that takes advantage of that no matter what position they play. So normally we look to take advantage of that with wide receivers, but you mentioned it, Addison, Osborne. These are not ideal targets, especially a guy like Addison, who's we expect to step up. The guy has miserable splits against press coverage in his career in both college and
I don't know, guys. I think we lost him again on these internet spots. But we will do a quick recap here. I will recap Stu's spots as well as mine, and we will get you guys
in the
on
NFL.
your way.
I can see how bad.
I think I might need to take a picture of these. I might need to screenshot these spots where Stu's face, man, because it's always these good spots. Let me get a picture quick, just so we have it for them there. I got it quick. We got we got a quick picture of Stu's face, which ends up always finding a way to look surprised, like I said before. And I didn't even mention Cam Akers on this one. So I did get a picture. Don't worry. I will, whenever he, I think the last time he posted something for me, he's like, dude, he posted a video of him doing a play and I sneezed in it. So now I have this in my back pocket, in my bag, just in case Stu, talk some smoke to me and brings it up. So let's do a quick recap here, and we'll get you guys on your way. Obviously, my plays right here. TJ Hockenson over 5.5 catches at -120 DraftKings. I did not check that one on FanDuel. I want the alternate lines if I can. And then Stu obviously rolling with Brandon Ayuk over 24.5 longest reception. Like I said, guys, usually it's me who's the issue on this on my end here for the Wi-Fi, but you guys see it, man. I'm rolling. I'm cooking over here on my place here. I think he's going to his phone. This is how bad it is. We're going to the phone.
Yeah, no, we're finally here on mobile. You hear me?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
Okay.
I hear you.
I don't know what's going on right there. We're good to go now. I don't know how much
Okay.
of that you could hear in the past,
I didn't hear
but
one thing you said about TJ Hockenson. I already did the recap, but talk your thing on TJ, and we'll get out of here just so we can get this going.
I'm gonna say this better be good. I feel like the government's trying to stop me. My internet's perfectly fine right now. I don't know what's going on, but there we go. We're back. I just wanted to say that initially, like a lot of people, you hear TJ Hockenson, you think, oh God, that Niners defense is good. Those linebackers are really good. But this has been a team all season long that's been top 5 in receptions allowed, right? And obviously, we always go to the wide receiver as the number one, position to target with that. But this is the guy with the 27% target share last week. This is the guy that's benefiting the most. So even we're scared of a certain positional group, somebody has to get that volume, right? When you really think about it, when you map out who's going to get how many targets, it's not going to be the KJ Osborne. It's not going to be the Jordan Addison of the world. I don't know. I was a little worried about Hockenson, but I think he talked me into that. I think it's going to be one of my favorite plays of the day out here.
Love it. I'm happy to hear it. I will take a look at the chat here quick. And we will get it ready to roll. Mike already saying he's rolling with your play as well on Brandon Ayuk, saying it's about 25.5 on DK right now. We love to see it. But yeah, we'll get out of here a little quicker today just because of all this stuff. I will make sure, Stu, if you have a long shot, you want to drop that in the comment section after the show. We get some people in there. Take a look at what you're rolling with. I know you always got those long shots. I do not think I'm going to have one there. I don't know. I'm going to have one in this one. But if you want to drop those, I know you'll have something. If you want to drop those in the comments, we can get that rolling there. But you got anything else for the people?
I mean, it's that time of year, guys. It's the best time of year to be a sports bettor. NBA season is just around the corner. I woke up at 10 a.m. I did a Sportstopia show where we talk season-long props, so you can go check that out over on my Twitter as well. But, I mean, MLB playoffs, NBA starting, NFL, it's just awesome. It's a great time to be a sports bettor. There's going to be a lot of good stuff out there. So I'm excited to keep on making money, right? I mentioned at the beginning, this is the make or break game for me this week. I'm sitting dead at even right here, looking to make some money, parlay that into some NBA winners tomorrow, maybe cash out on the Rangers World Series. Who knows what happens? I'm just excited, and I hope people, keep on tuning in with us and following the plays because it's a great time to be a sports bettor. Excited to keep making some money.
Yeah, no, it's obviously a smaller slate today. Obviously, NBA coming back tomorrow. Obviously, want to give you guys the updated total. We're 1-3 this week. Obviously, getting us to 3.35 units on the year. I don't know. My dog's having a seizure over here. I don't know what the fuck is happening. I don't know what's going on. Sneezing more than I've ever heard in my life. So I will get out of here. Looks like I gotta take care of that shit. So again, guys, hit that like button on your way out. We'll be back on Wednesday. maybe even talk a little NBA in the comments. I'm sure you guys are going to want to talk about that, but we'll have our Thursday night football picks. Hopefully, please, no more injuries on these Thursday night games. I'm tired of this shit. Thursday morning stuff. So thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry for the technical difficulties, but we will be back on Wednesday ready to catch a couple plays with you guys.